Hey everyone, it's Movie Lover 120 here, and I'm here with episode 2 of my Halloween. No, episode 21 of my Halloween horror movie reviews. And this horror review is actually today is going to be for one of the most underrated horror sequels of all time, released about 12 years after the first film, and was kind of a little more over the top and comedic than its predecessor. Yes, that sequel is Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. aka what I call one of the most underrated horror sequels in horror movie history. Yeah, like some people seem to flack on the sequel so much, and I don't. I think it's actually really good, and especially compared to all the other crappy, unneeded Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequels that came after this, with the exception of Texas Chainsaw at the beginning and the remake. This one is actually pretty good and actually still kind of followed closely to the original movie and still had some horror elements in it. And at least it had the original director of the first one. So that was pretty nice, but there are some horror fans that have gone on to better praise this movie over time, and it actually has a bit of a cult following among some fans. Is it as good as the first one? No, the first one's always the better one, but this one's still pretty good. Pretty good sequel nonetheless, and in my opinion, it should have been the only sequel we got. Because I don't see Leatherface being all Michael or Jason or Freddy or Chucky. No. But anyway, what is this movie about? Radio DJ Vanita Stretch Brooks' open request night is plagued by the annoying phone pranking of two road-tripping party-hard hoodlums. But things take a disturbing turn when the hoodlums meet their demise at the hands of familiar chainsaw-wielding maniacs. With the entire gruesome ordeal recorded on tape, Stretch seeks out the help of a former Texas marshal who's on a personal quest of vengeance against the family of cannibals. Sorry. Well, at first he turns her down, he eventually decides to use her tape to his advantage, asking her to air it during her request block, effectively battling the cannibals to the radio station where he'll personally deal with them himself. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So, one of the all-time great horror movies gets a sequel 12 years later. If you're going to watch this film, don't go into it expecting the first one, because that is a big mistake. This one takes more of an 80s cheese fest, deliberately campy and entirely insane. In fact, this one kind of has a more absurdly crazy, over-the-top, humorous comedic tone. Kind of like with what Evil Dead 2 and Evil Dead 1 compared. Evil Dead 1 is the serious horror movie, but is kind of a bit comedic now because of the outdated effects. Evil Dead 2 is the comedy movie, in kind of a way. Same with Gremlins. Gremlins 1, more of the serious horror film, but actually Gremlins 1 was more of a balance between comedy and horror. Gremlins 2 is a straight up campy spoof comedy. So same thing with Texas Chainsaw 1 and 2. Yeah. So what I do like, at the beginning of the film, I kind of like we do get a bit of a recap through text, like, after Sally escaped from Leatherface, the traumatized girl tried to explain the whole murders of her friends to the police. Police searched everywhere for Leatherface and his family, but they found no trace, so they just gave up the search, but the search kept going and going all these years. So yeah, so I like they did recap the first one a lot. Like, as you can notice, if you haven't seen the movie, the plot this one kind of surrounds this sheriff's lefty's revenge and the new torture mechanics of the Sawyers, but TCM2 is more than that. This movie is filled with unique black humor and great gore. In the scene where Chop Top, who we're going to get to in a bit, smashes LG's head with a hammer is a classical moment in 80s splatters and manners. First, Chop Top hits him repeatedly with the hammer and yells, "Damn flashback," or "Incoming mail." Then he takes the presumably dead body, escapes with Leatherface, who minutes before sexually attacked in a bizarre way. Stretch. Second scene of LG's death is better. It's a confusing black humor moment with many blood. We see Leatherface ripping LG's face with a knife, and then he puts it over Stretch's face, and they dance around, which is pretty darn hilarious. You gotta say. After that, LG, still alive, tries to help her escape, In a very weird scene, it's implied that he wants to stab her with a knife. It doesn't happen. That scene explains the whole TCM2 concept, a bizarre horror movie that mixes black humor. Yeah. Yeah, and the whole lefty dialogues are hilarious and cool at the same time. Lines like, Lord, you showed me the way, help me beat the stranger that way beside me, as he watches a creepy sculpture. In a weird moment in the series, Lefty displays these kind of lines through all the movie. Christian Catholic lunatic who takes revenge in the name of the Lord is truly a badass. He manages to take down the whole Sawyer family except for Chop Top, who later finds his demise after a struggle with Stretch. And by the way, guys, Chop Top, when it comes to the best characters of this movie, Chop Top was probably the best of character in this movie. Because he's just way so enjoyable to watch. He's just over the top and like goofy, especially with the very great performance from one of the few horror kings himself, Bill Moseley, who would later go on to play Otis Driftwood in the Rob Zombie House of Corpses, Devil's Rejects, Street from Hell, and the King Deadite in Army of Darkness. Yeah, guys, that main that main Deadite from Army of Darkness is actually played by Bill Moseley. For those of you who don't know, yeah, the film the film is a bit of a slow build, but and it really isn't until halfway point that it picks up and maintains a steady spiral into oblivion. But don't think the movie's just boring. Writer Carson injects quite a bit of life into the story and makes the characters fun and very interesting to watch. It also has an ear for dialogue and knows how to make even the most minor of moments shine. Never before would I think a line of dialogue such as "Hey, I built you a French fry house" actually makes me like a character and root for him. Carson's quick quirky character and Hooper's fun to direction make it happen. It's like there are plenty of surprises in the story that to keep you reeling, and great silly performances by talents like Hooper. Basically, once this movie gets going, it sucks you right in and won't let go. So yeah, the only bad qualities is that it is a bit of a slow build up at first, and some may not like the more comedic tone, especially compared to the more serious and scary first one. If if this is a sequel to one of the scariest films of all time, yeah, some may not like it. It goes a little more of a comedic parody tone at times, but personally, I kind of like the whole comedic and parody tone in kind of way. That's happened. It pretty much happened. It kind of fits the tone of '80s horror sequels to where the first one's the scary one, and the rest just get more and more comedic. And plus, you gotta admit, guys, at least this movie's better than Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, or Texas Chainsaw 3D, or Leatherface, or Texas Chainsaw 3. Hell, I'll always would rather watch this over that upcoming shit Netflix movie we're getting. That's just cashing in on Halloween 2018 and Candyman 2021. Like, come on. Come on, do we really. I don't really see. Plus, that's bringing back Sally because I don't see Sally from the first one being this Laurie Strode all of a sudden. That does not work for me at all. She was better for just one movie. They should have just kept her for only the first one. Really. Just better that way. Oh yeah, and this movie also does have some great gore and superb performances by the likes of Bill Johnson as Leatherface, Bill Moseley as Chop Top, Jim Slavell as the cook, Dane Stroyer, late actor Dennis Hopper, may rest in peace, among others. So yeah, if you want to see a more parody sequel, kind of like with what Evil Dead 2 was, or if you just love to see some black humor with gore, then or if you did like the first one, this is the only sequel to Texas Chainsaw Massacre I'd give a watch. This is the only one, the only sequel I like. The rest don't count. The rest are not canon to me, especially the Next Generation, the most. But yeah, this one's definitely worth a watch. So do check this sequel out. Don't expect a serious horror movie if we're gonna watch it though, because this is not a serious horror movie. But it's still worth a pretty good watch. And here's how I'm going to rank it. I am going to give Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2 an 8.5 out of 10. Okay, that pretty much wraps up my review for Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. So what's going to be the next episode? Well, this one is going to be for a film which I reviewed the dreaded remake of last year. Except this one is the original movie, the one that is actually scary, doesn't feature unintentionally comedic lines, and was actually starred late actor Christopher Lee, one of Christopher Lee's finest roles. Yes, the original 1973 Wicker Man is next. We reviewed the shitty remake last year, now let's review the great, awesome original movie for this season. But until then, that'll be it for this episode. Thank y'all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Movie Lover 120.